Hi, I'm Mark, this is Mark's Tech Vlogs on YouTube, and today I'm going to bring you guys a review of a Precision Cruise Control Kit. This is a retrofit cruise control kit for most cars. Now, a couple of months ago, after a long drive, I found myself going down a rabbit hole of whether I could get cruise control in my car. And if you followed various videos on this channel, I currently drive a Kia Picanto. And it turns out the model of Kia Picanto I have never actually had cruise control. But during this research, I did come across these kits from Precision. And I believe they are both manufactured and sold by a company called NCS Systems, or at least they're programmed by them anyway. So you typically buy them through the NCS site or through the CAN M8 website, both of which seem to be exactly the same company. And this was basically the only option for my car. And I suspect for a lot of cars out there, it is indeed the only option, unless you want to go to the manufacturer and spend a lot of money. And so I've had it installed for just over a month now, and during that time I've tried to put it through its paces and test it out, and that included a 1,000 mile round trip from here in the UK across to Germany and back. So this video is my review and thoughts on using this kit, but also the installation process and things you should know if you are thinking about buying one. And let's start off by talking about cost. So the cost of this kit is around £240 including VAT. In the process of creating this video, I clicked through a few of the other manufacturers on the CAN M8 website, and this seems to be a pretty consistent cost for most vehicles. When you purchase it, there's an optional £12 extra for an OBD data harness. This is something that simplifies the installation process, and it's going to be especially useful if you're installing it yourself, which I wasn't, so I didn't go for this kit. When you make the purchase, you're going to also want to make sure that in the notes section when you're making the order, you add in your car, make, model and registration plate. This is so CAN M8 can make sure they're giving you the right kit for your car because they pre-program these. Now in my case, I also found that they reached out asking for a bit more information and a couple of photographs which I was able to get and send back to them. And this was a really positive purchase experience because it meant they were determined to make sure they sent me the right kit. Now I also reached out to them prior to making a purchase about installation, which is something they no longer offer. What they do, however, is recommend a few places and people who can install it for you. Although in theory, any garage who've got some electrical experience should be able to do it for you, especially with the instructions that come with it. Now my installation cost £140 and the installer actually came to me and fitted it at my home. Now that brings the total cost to £380, which I don't think is too bad for all of the functionality. And of course, if you did go down the route of getting that optional OBD cable, with the instructions that are included, I think you could probably install it yourself if you were competent enough. Personally, however, I think this is the sort of thing it is worth spending the money to have professionally installed because you want that peace of mind in knowing that the person messing around with your car electrics knows what they're doing. Another thing worth noting when you're thinking about purchasing this is that technically this is a vehicle modification, and so you're going to need to let your insurance company know. So I actually contacted mine before purchasing because I wanted to know if it was going to do horrendous things to my premium. Now my insurance company were really helpful. They went off and checked with their underwriter or whatever that job's called, and they basically came back and said, we've made a note on the system, it's not going to cost you any more. And I think this is what most people are going to find because cruise control is a pretty standard thing to have in cars, and of course it does actually make things safer a lot of the time. So let's talk about the kit and the specification. So the kit comes with wiring, a control box and an extra stalk for your steering wheel. And really this kit as a whole packs in two key features. Firstly, that is cruise control, and this is set using that stalk. It has a couple of memory functions built in and then also some up-down toggles to adjust the speed slightly once you've already set it to cruise control. Now there is no extra display that comes with this because the speed that you're going is the speed that your speedometer says. I actually think this is a really good way of doing cruise control. The second feature is a speed limiter mode. This allows you to set a maximum speed in basically the same way, but you change the mode of the stalk. Once you've set this, no matter how far you push down on your accelerator, you won't go above that speed. This is useful if you're going through like a 30-mile-an-hour zone and you don't want to get caught by any of the speed cameras, but you know the traffic in front of you is going to be a bit start-stoppy, depending on traffic lights and the speed of vehicles and bicycles and things like that. So that's the spec and the features. Let's talk about fitting. Now, as I said, I had a mobile fitter come out who fitted it and then talked me through using it and took me out on a test drive. All of this took around 2 hours. Now, I did actually take some photos at the point before he put everything back together again because I wanted to have some photos just in case I needed to know where things were. And as you can see from the images I'm showing you, there's basically a black box. And out of that black box comes a few cables. Some of those go to your OBD, which is your kind of onboard computer. This is used for monitoring the speed and the sensors and things like that. Some of them go to your accelerator pedal, and then some of them go up to that stalk on your steering wheel, which is fitted by putting in your hole and attaching that drill to your steering wheel column. And this all fits in pretty well. So let's talk about using it. And I want to start with cruise control because that's the feature that I have used the most. So firstly, you're going to need to use a switch on the top of the stalk to turn it on, and a green light will come on. This switch is quite clicky, which is nice for knowing that you've actually turned it on. At this point, it doesn't do anything, it's just active and ready for you to use. This means you can turn it on for an entire journey, and then when you turn your engine off at the end, it turns off. To actually use the cruise control, you just reach the speed you want to stick at, and then you tap the button that goes down on the right hand side of the stalk. This is labelled set. Within about a second, you can feel it kick in, and you can then take your foot off the accelerator pedal. Now, getting used to this kind of gap between pressing it and it kicking in did take a little bit of getting used to, but after the kind of 1,000-mile round trip, I am pretty used to it now. And it's great, it just works really well. Once it's kicked in, you can also use the side buttons to adjust the speed up or down. And these increments are really, really small, so you're not going to be using it when you head towards a traffic jam, but if the car in front is suddenly going a little bit slower, or you want to speed up a tiny bit, you can use it for that. But realistically, you're not going to be going from 60 to 70 using this feature. What I have found is that I have used this quite a bit, especially when there's been cars that are suddenly going a little bit slower and you're approaching them, and perhaps you can't be bothered to overtake them. There's also the memory function, which isn't something I've used much, but I can see it being useful for some people. And this is something you have to set when the cruise control is not active, so when it's not automatically going up to a speed. And you can set these by using that toggle at the bottom of the stalk at the speed you want it to set to. You can then easily toggle it later on to go, right, memory 1 is 70, and that's what I want to get up to. Personally, I think this is something that's probably more useful if you've got an automatic car, or maybe if you are going down to 60 for a bit and you just want to easily send it up to 70 once you're in 5th gear. But again, this isn't really something I've used much because it's not something I've found particularly helpful. And in using this for kind of over 1,000 miles, I've been really impressed. It works well, I've got used to it kicking in, and really impressively, it can maintain a constant speed even when you're going up slight inclines or maybe going down a bit faster. It will adjust that. And that's because it gets those readings from your onboard computer. This also means you know it's accurate to your speedometer. To exit cruise control, you either hit the cancel button on the back of the stalk, or you can just tap on your brake. Then there's the speed limiter feature, which again I have used but not quite as much. In order to use this, you use the button on the top of the device and push it to the right until a red light comes onto the stalk. From there, you get up to the maximum speed you want to go to and use that right hand set button in order to put it into place. From that point on, it doesn't matter how much you push the accelerator, it won't go above that speed. And then to reset it, you just hit the cancel buttons on the back of that stalk. Realistically, the speed limiter function is something that's nice to have, but not something I've used a huge amount. So all in all, is the Precision Cruise Control unit worth it? Now, I work from home and I do this kind of thing from home, and so I don't drive every day. That means actually what I do tend to do is use my car for longer journeys and days out on holidays across to Europe. And having taken it on a drive from here to Germany and back and done some trips out there whilst there, I can absolutely say this was worth it. This unit works really well, and it just makes the whole driving process, especially on long stretches of motorway, really comfortable. Of course, it's much more comfortable to use in Europe where people can actually drive rather than the UK where everyone just straddles the outside lane all the time. That means I got plenty of use out of it across in like Belgium and Germany and France, and slightly less when I got back to the UK. And actually in researching this, there were so few reviews out there about this unit, I thought it was worth sharing with you guys. So what you can do if you found this video helpful is give it a like, because this video isn't going to make me any money and there's no way of doing affiliate links for anything. So this is just me sharing hopefully useful information. If you do want to pick one up, I have put a link below to the kit that I've got. That is obviously the Kia Picanto kit, but that website, if you click through on their other kits, does have ones for most manufacturers of cars. Now there are a few fitters that can name as people they know can install these kits. That being said, having looked at the instructions, I think any mechanic who can do car electrics as well will have no problems installing one of these. That means you might have someone local who can do it for you. I have, however, put the 3 that can say below so you can easily find those. 2 of those are based around kind of Midlands of the UK, and they have pretty good reviews on Google, but you do have to go to them. The 3rd is a mobile mechanic. He's the guy I used, and Dennis seems to travel all over the place installing these and parking sensors. I phoned him up in advance and he seemed pretty knowledgeable about a product. He was then able to fit me in pretty quickly, which was great as well. And generally my experience of him fitting it has been good, and the work he did has obviously been really good because it's worked fine on that road trip that I've done. The only thing I'd say is it took a little bit of nudging to get a receipt from him after making a payment. This is something that I actually wanted to have and something he said he'd send out, but it might not be something that bothers you at all. But I just wanted to share that because I'm always honest in my reviews. If you do use any of the 3 below, mention that you've been sent from this video because it'd be great for them to know that other people are talking about their businesses. I have no affiliation with these other than Dennis who fitted mine, but I just thought I'd share them because it's useful for people searching around for this information on the internet. I'll also put a link below to the PDF instructions that I got for my kit. This will give you an idea of the installation process, but do not use this for your own installation because it is specific to my car. If you guys have got any questions, do stick them below. This is something I purchased for myself and something that I'm using on a daily basis, and there's basically no way of monetizing this other than any ads that get shown on this YouTube channel. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a like because it helps this channel out. Also subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos when I come out. I typically do a lot of smart home tech stuff. I'll see you guys again soon.